Hello, hello, and welcome to episode 226 of the Compassion and Cucumbers podcast. I'm Christine.
And I'm Sam.
Here's what's coming up in today's show. In this week's Y-Files, we're stepping away from the animals for a bit and telling you how the government is seizing farmlands in the U.S. and why.
In our Noteworthy segment, well-known animal activist Joey Carbstrong was arrested for exposing conditions in a Manchester slaughter facility. We'll tell you what he exposed.
And in our main topic, we'll tell you how singer Billie Eilish is causing an uproar with non-vegans.
Go Billie.
Yeah. But before we get into all of that, what have we been up to?
Well, we had a weekend.
We did.
We did. So last week was finals week for me. And so it was kind of wrapping things up with all of my students. And Saturday was, of course, commencement for us. And we had the afternoon ceremony. Mm-hmm. So went to the commencement ceremony with my wonderful colleagues and cheered on our wonderful students. It was a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, and while you were at commencement, I went to a celebration of life for a really close family friend. He was more like, I don't know, my crazy uncle or the brother I never knew I wanted. My friend Ronnie, who passed away suddenly of a heart attack, and it was very sad and unexpected. But his family threw a celebration of life at their farm, and it was the most beautiful day.
Yeah.
Just filled with stories and music and everybody there. You know, I said Ronnie is here in every hug, in every smile, in every story, in every tear shed. He would have loved it.
Yeah.
He would have loved that he was the center of attention. And, my heart goes out to everyone that knew Ronnie and loved him, because if you knew him, you loved him.
Yeah, this is true. I did not know Ronnie long, but I did love him very much.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I could not be there, but I was there in spirit.
Yeah, I've known Ronnie and his wife, Kathy, since I was about 12.
It's a long time.
So, yeah, that's a long time. Yeah. So we jump into the episode since we don't have anything else that we were up to? Or do we have anything else that we were up to?
Well, I mean, I did put a cabinet together today.
Yeah, we put a cabinet together today.
We?
I watched Sam put a cabinet
there you
together
go.
today. I'm not good with things that have... Now, this cabinet, mind you, came in 2 giant heavy boxes.
Yes.
And there were, 50 separate pieces.
Oh, at least.
And bags of hardware.
Yep.
So it only took her 5.5 hours.
Yeah. And to be completely honest, it's not fully finished because we still have 4 doors to put on.
Yeah.
But I was kind of like, you know what? That can wait for tomorrow.
Yeah, but it was a good way
So
to
we'll
spend
do
the
that
day.
tomorrow.
Today is one of the first really warm days that we've had.
Well, yeah, it is one of the first truly warm days that we've had. Yesterday was also quite warm, but today is it's been 82 today, which is really quite wonderful. And I'm not usually one for hot weather, particularly this early in the summer season, but I've been dealing with some back issues, some arthritis and other things. And this is the first day, even with moving around quite a bit and putting this cabinet together, where my back felt really good. And I was like, oh, wait a minute, it's warm. That could be part of it.
Yeah.
Now, granted, I am right now taking some precautions to make sure everything doesn't seize up and I can't move tomorrow.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really nice to just kind of feel like I could move a little bit again. It was great.
That's great.
I was enjoying it thoroughly.
So should we jump into the episode?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's talk about this week's Y-Files. This comes to us from agweb.com. This is a farm website. Government seizes farmers' land to build airport for corporate jets and business hangars.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. You're going to see a lot more of this since we are under a fascist and authoritarian regime right now. So here we go. The government is taking Jeff Mellon's Georgia farm. His crime, preserving 450 acres and pouring blood, sweat, and tears into the property. We already gave the government land for eminent domain, he says. Now they're back, and they're wanting more. Now they want it all. Even in the nightmare realm of eminent domain power grabs, Mellon's case is particularly shocking. His farmland has been obliterated, with roughly 225 acres ripped from the middle of his operation to house an airport. Cows replaced by corporate jets, barns replaced by hangars. And it's not even for commercial passengers, he said. It's an airport for billionaires to park their jets and big businesses to have hangars. He goes on to say, my grandfather, dad, and myself protected this land. We survived depressions and disasters and kept this place together for decades. My dad turned down millions of dollars over and over from subdivisions. Mellon described a sickening contradiction of farmland preservation. We sacrificed to keep this wonderful place whole, and now that's why they want it. How could it be more ironic? If we'd built on it or trashed it, they'd leave it alone. The better and longer you take care of your land, the more at risk you are of losing it. Insult to deepest injury, Mellon is getting a per-acre pittance for his land, he says. They force me to sell against my will, and then they pay a fraction of the value, and I'm not allowed to turn them down. My story will make you question what kind of a country you're living in.
Amen.
60 miles south of Atlanta in Spalding County, Mellon stares across gentle hills veined with creeks, rubbing against a mix of pastures and woods, cattle, water, deer plots, dove field, pecan grove, and more. Despite the beauty, it also contains a withering family legacy. Awaiting grinding at the edge of the 70-acre pecan grove, a chain of toppled trees stretches like fallen dominoes, with many of the specimens over a century in age. Concrete poles are already in place as pecans give way to power lines. Soon, grass will give way to a 6,000-foot asphalt runway as part of a 730-acre new airport for Spalding County. I've got 90 days to get my stuff out of a 40-foot by 60-foot shop so they can get started, Mellon describes. It's an order to vacate. That means 90 days to move 75 years' worth of farm equipment. I don't even know where I'll put it all. The tools, welders, compressors, and all the rest. I don't have another shop built. I've got to get rid of at least 65 cows and 30 calves right off the bat. They've killed my farm, he adds. This will be the end of me. And when I say they, I mean the county, state, and federal government. All three are involved with this airport. Altogether, they're taking about 225 acres from the middle of my operation. They're leaving me land in the back that's landlocked, that I can't get to, and then leaving me land on the front of one side that's going to be landlocked. I never dreamed this is how it would end. For sure, my grandfather and dad never dreamt it either. This was heaven to us. In 1951, the Mellon clan pulled stakes in Red Wing, Minnesota, and moved over 1,200 miles to Griffin, Georgia, hauling cattle the whole way to start Mellon Brothers Polled Herefords. I loved everything this farm represented, heart and soul, Mellon says. I love it so much that I took a job close to home as a mechanic at Delta Airlines so that I could work the land and help my dad. We grew up with sacrifice. It didn't matter if it was family vacation or Thanksgiving, somebody had to be here to feed. People in farming know exactly what I'm saying. Our farm was not for sale at any price because our lives were molded around this land. At 57 and approaching retirement age, to have your land and life snatched away feels like a terrible dream. But I know it's real. It all started with a newspaper article. They didn't even have the decency to knock on my door. In 2012, Mellon opened a morning newspaper to find himself in the bullseye of eminent domain's common good. The existing Spalding County Airport's runway was deemed too short, and Mellon's farm was listed among 4 to 5 potential sites to build a new airport on 730 acres, including 124 hangars for express and corporate jets. According to the Georgia Department of Transportation, a new airport would generate $24 million in economic impact per year for Spalding County. Mellon was stunned. His ground is hilly. I thought it was impossible, a mistake. Why build an airport in the hills? I couldn't imagine the amount of dirt moving and earthwork and boxing creeks it would take to build an airport on my land. I mean, it even requires moving power lines and gas lines. No matter, Mellon's land is open and near town. Case closed in the county's eyes. We're an old mill town. There's plenty of other spots that are flatter, but they don't want to deal with the legalities and paperwork. Better to take prime agricultural ground, preserved across my dad's lifetime at a cost of blood and tears. There's a lot of other dilapidated land around here, but it's not open and would require diligence and hassle. Better to steal mine. There was no public vote or an opportunity to say no. Nothing. Mellon's 450-acre farm is split into 4 parcels. The county is taking a 225-acre strip from the middle. Irony upon irony, Mellon already had willfully ceded ground to eminent domain. Many times in the past, for genuine public good, we got out of the way when roads were widened because we cared about people's safety. This is not that. This is greed and power. They dragged it out year after year and never let you know what was really going on, Mellon contends. They never listened. They never communicated with us face to face. They didn't come to my house. They didn't seek me out. They didn't come find me and say anything. They sent a few letters and made their announcements. It was shoddy. No matter what I said, they'd respond, "We just have to keep on doing studies." This was a foregone conclusion, but they pretended otherwise. They didn't even know there was 5 gas lines under me, and they were going to put hangers on top of them. Money doesn't replace lifeblood, but Mellon assumes he'd receive a fair price for his land. Mellon had fair reasoning behind his assumption. According to the county, there was nowhere else to build an airport presented as indispensable and necessary. Arguably, Mellon was sitting atop the most vital land in Spalding County. Nope, they wouldn't give me an honest dollar. Every year, Mellon poured in money to improve his land and soils, fertilizer, lime, weed control, and a myriad of other management costs. Even foot patrol with a backpack sprayer to kill thistle. None of that goes onto their valuations. All I can do about value is look around and make reasonable judgments based on how much got paid recently for land recently around me. There was an old cattle farm right down the road that we did business with for years. It was 100 acres, fenced and cross-fenced, and sold for $75,000 an acre to Georgia Power for a substation. The owner got $7.5 million. About 2 miles from me, the county bought a 29-acre school site and paid $14,000 per acre about 22 years ago. $420,000, he adds. However, according to Mellon, Spalding County offered a fraction of what the school property brought per acre. I'm getting lowballed with a percentage of what the other properties sold for, but I can't refuse the offer. Don't tell me about federal guidelines and fair market value. I have eyes. I can smell corruption and manipulation. Doesn't mean I can prove it, but it's right in front of my face. It just doesn't seem like America when someone shows up and says, "We're taking your land for a set price, and you'll like it or else."
This is disgusting.
It is. And now, cattle farming aside, while we don't agree with what Mr. Mellon is doing with his land as far as raising cattle, we do agree that he has a right to own his own land.
Yes.
And not have to give it up, regardless of eminent domain. Eminent domain is for roads and stuff like that.
That's right.
And now I understand that the airport needs to expand.
Well, no, the thing is it doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't actually need to expand. By what I'm seeing here, they're looking for a place for billionaires to park their jets. It's not going to be a commercial airport.
Yeah.
It's not going to be one that the public will benefit from. It's one that rich people and corporations will benefit from.
That's what it sounds like.
It does.
And the fact that they're not even giving him fair market value per acre.
It's disgusting.
It is disgusting.
Yes.
It's like nothing is your own.
Right.
You, regardless of spending years like this family did on this land, you buy a piece of land and they can just take it from you. They just take it from you and give you what they want to give you, and you have no recourse.
Seems that way.
Yeah. So, like Mr. Mellon said, it makes you wonder what country you're living in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is, like I said, completely disgusting. And, just looking at some of the photos from this article, he's got some beautiful land.
It's beautiful property.
It's stunning.
Pecan groves and creeks.
Gorgeous.
And they're just decimating it.
Yeah. It's just hideous.
Yeah. So we feel for him. And
yes, we do.
And I hope he didn't vote for this. I hope that he's not having a aha moment about, the people that he voted for.
Well, I honestly don't care in this situation whether he voted for it or not.
Yeah.
This is completely undeserved.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm absolutely certain that if he did vote in a way that essentially caused this, it was not with any expectation of that anything like this would happen. Because, you know, the people that folks have voted for that are now making these kinds of things happen are really good at lying to the people who support them.
Oh, absolutely.
They're really good at pulling the wool, pardon the expression, over their eyes.
Yeah.
And so I just feel badly for this man.
I do too.
I don't care how he voted.
Yeah, I don't care how he voted either. I don't.
This should not be happening to him.
I don't care that he's a cattle farmer. It should not be happening to anyone.
Right.
You should have a right to own your land.
Yes.
And own it outright.
Right.
And not be forced to give it up at a pittance to our government.
Right.
And this is happening all over the country, not for airports, but for data centers.
Yep.
They're wiping out farmland all over the country to put data centers. And it's insane. Mm-hmm. It's insane.
And it's just another mechanism of, you know, taking the small farmer out of the equation so things get more and more centralized with the massive CAFO operations.
Yeah.
And which, by the way, this man's farm was not. He had a small number of cattle, 60 cattle, 30 calves.
Yeah.
You know, like this is not.
It's a small family farm.
It's a small family farm.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oy, oy, oy. I'm telling you. And this is something, this monopoly on our food systems and our farmlands. This has been a long time coming, and a lot of people have been warning that this was coming.
Yeah.
That millionaires were buying up farmland, and there's nothing we can do about it. There's absolutely nothing we can do about it except try to be as self-sustainable as possible. I don't want to be like an alarmist or anything, but if I were you, I would seek out a local farmer, a local produce grower, and join if they have a share situation, a farm share, or support them in any way you can, or volunteer on their farm to help them in exchange for food.
Yeah.
Because not just this monopoly thing that's happening with our farmland, but the fact that everything is going to be so expensive due to petroleum going through the roof.
Right.
It's a good time to seek out a local source for food and eat seasonally, you know, because things in the grocery store are already becoming almost unaffordable. Mm-hmm. Sorry about all that downer news.
You know, we had a light episode last week.
I know.
This week's a little more of a downer.
I know
you know,
why.
These things go in cycles.
Yeah.
It's okay.
It's not all downer.
No, not entirely.
No. Should we move on to our noteworthy segment?
Sure, let's do it. This is coming to us from the Animal Reader and lets us know that Joey Carbstrong has been arrested after a new animal cruelty investigation. Animal rights activist Joey Carbstrong says he has been arrested following the release of an investigation into a slaughterhouse in England. He shared a video of his arrest on Sunday. The arrest came after Carbstrong published footage said to have been filmed in February and March 2026 inside the British slaughterhouse Hartshead Meats in Greater Manchester. The video revealed disturbing animal welfare breaches at Hartshead Meats. It claims that cattle were subjected to excessive electric prod use, inadequate checks for consciousness, ineffective stunning, and in some cases, being lifted or cut up while still showing signs of life.
Yeah.
Carbstrong said in a statement that police arrived around 3:30 a.m. They seized his devices and the computers used to produce his animal investigations. They then handcuffed him and took him to a police station. According to Carbstrong, Hartshead Meats also carries out non-stun kosher slaughter, known as shechita. This is the Jewish religious method used to produce kosher meat. In this process, the animal is not stunned before his throat is cut. Instead, a sharp knife is used to make a single continuous cut across the animal's throat. In the UK, non-stun slaughter is normally illegal unless carried out under a religious exemption, which kosher slaughter is allowed to operate under. The practice remains controversial, with critics arguing that animals may remain conscious for seconds or longer after the cut, potentially causing pain and distress.
Potentially.
Yeah. The footage also raises questions about openness in the meat industry. According to the investigation, Heart's Head Meats was carrying out non-stun kosher slaughter without clearly saying this in its public information. The video also claims that meat from religious slaughter could enter the normal food supply without clear labels for consumers. Carbstrong said he is receiving legal advice both in relation to his treatment by police and the allegations against him, and that he intends to challenge them.
And I do believe that he is free right now.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, he is made bail. I haven't heard anything about, sentencing or anything like that. What it sounds like is happening at this slaughterhouse is that they're using the excuse of killing these animals in a kosher fashion to probably save money and expedite the slaughtering process.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've seen any of the footage that
I can't.
I wouldn't recommend watching it.
No.
And I'm not a huge Joey Carbstrong fan or anything. I try not to fan over animal activists.
Right.
But I do appreciate him exposing what's going on in these places because it's horrific.
Yeah.
Utterly horrific.
Yeah.
And, and once again, this article talks about how the meat industry is possibly trying to hide. Like, how long is it going to be before people just understand the meat industry is hiding how they do their job?
Yeah.
Period.
Yes.
It's illegal.
There's no question about that.
Not only in our country, but in many countries, it is illegal to step foot inside of a animal processing facility and video or take pictures or even write a newspaper article about what you witness.
Right. It's considered a form of domestic terrorism.
Yeah. So, how bad is it, that they have to hide it from people like that? Because I think the industry would crumble if those laws did not exist. And I think they know that.
Right.
I
mean, Paul McCartney said it. If slaughterhouses had glass walls, everyone would be vegetarian.
Yeah.
Without question.
Indeed.
And
if dairy farms had glass walls.
That too. Everybody would be vegan.
I'm talking about the industrial dairy industry, that everybody would go vegan because people really still to this day
underestimate the cruelty of the dairy industry.
Totally underestimate, or even don't realize there is any cruelty involved in the dairy industry. They're like, where's the cruelty? They're just taking the milk, But we all know what happens. They forcibly impregnate them, and then they remove their young, and it's terribly traumatic to the animals. And then they're used and used and used until they're spent, and then they're handed off to the beef industry. So, yes. So I do, like I said, appreciate what Joey Carbstrong is doing, and I think that more people need to witness what's happening in these slaughterhouses because it's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
That brings us to our main topic. Which is a little less morbid.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're going to talk a little bit about Billie Eilish. She's been in the news making meat eaters mad over the last couple of months, and we're going to talk a little bit about that.
We've got a couple of articles that we're looking at for all of this information.
Yeah.
And this first comes to us from Ethos magazine and asks, can Billie Eilish make vegan cool again?
My question is, when was it not cool?
I'm with you on that, but some people just haven't figured it out yet.
I guess.
I don't know. Okay. Billie Eilish is doubling down on veganism as the industry teeters, celebrity vegans defect, and fine dining retreats from plants. Can she pull off what Joaquin Phoenix, Miley Cyrus, and the Impossible Burger couldn't? Billie Eilish has been vegan since she was 12, and for reasons that have not changed since she was 12. She learned how animals are treated in the industrial food system, and she wanted no part of it. She is 24 now, which means she has been holding this position for more than half her life. long enough to have watched the movement she belongs to swell and contract and be declared dead several times, only to swell again, even if more quietly. Last summer, she performed her Hit Me Hard and Soft show over 6 nights at London's O2 Arena. And as a condition of those performances, she required that every food vendor in the building serve plant-based food. The vendors were told they would offer corn naan and peri-peri halloumi wraps, or they would offer nothing. And so that is what they offered. She did the same at Co-op Live in Manchester and at the UBS Arena outside New York, where the menu included items named after her songs. The Bad Guy Dog, the Birds of a Feather Tenders and Fries, and at venues across Europe and the United States, until the touring footprint of her Hit Me Hard and Soft World Tour had raised $13 million for climate organizations, donated 7.7 million plant-based meals, secured pledges from 36,000 fans to eat one plant-based meal a day for 30 days, and kept 135,200 single-use bottles from landfills, numbers that have the quality of a campaign rather than a concert. The most important thing you can do is changing what's on your plate and what you're eating, she said at an event in Paris in 2023. Trying to end animal agriculture and eating a more plant-based diet is really, really important. This past April, in a video interview with Elle magazine, Eilish was asked to name the hill she'd die on. "Y'all ain't gonna like me for this one," she said, and then, "Eating meat is inherently wrong. That loving animals and eating them cannot coexist. That you cannot do both." The backlash came quickly and had a familiar shape. The privilege accusations, the food access arguments, the old photographs of leather that circulated as evidence of hypocrisy. She responded by posting graphic slaughterhouse footage to her Instagram stories, footage she marked as sensitive content and then posted anyway, alongside a statement urging her followers to please continue to live in a constant state of cognitive dissonance and denial and try to convince yourself that you're not living a lie. She did not back down. So stay effing mad at me. I really don't give a GDF. Beyond Meat, a company based in El Segundo, California, that figured out how to make a hamburger patty from pea protein that bled beet juice and left a grease stain on a bun exactly the way a beef patty would, had, by the spring of 2019, achieved the unusual distinction of producing the best initial public offering of the year. Its shares opened at $46 on the first day of trading and closed near $66. And for a while, it seemed like a company and an industry whose moment had finally arrived. Its chief competitor, Impossible Foods, had installed its meatless burger in every Burger King in the country. Supermarket sales of meat alternatives surged 19.2% to $878 million in the preceding year. Kim Kardashian appeared in advertisements for Beyond Meat while wearing a white lab coat, not historically her preferred uniform, in her capacity as the company's chief taste consultant. Miley Cyrus, who had adopted a plant-based diet in 2014, had tattooed a pig on her arm and posted vegan recipes on a regular basis and talked about it in every interview willing to ask. And it seems fair to say that she meant it. The Economist declared 2019 the year of the vegan. At dinner parties in certain zip codes, asking for the fish had come to feel like a statement of values, and so had asking for the lamb, and neither in a flattering way. Then, on February 9th, 2020, a date that can, in retrospect, be understood as somewhere near the outer limit of the movement's cultural reach, Joaquin Phoenix walked to the podium at the Dolby Theater in Hollywood, having just won Best Actor for Joker, a film in which he plays a man in white face paint, descending methodically into violence, and used his acceptance speech to describe the experience of a dairy cow whose newborn calf has been taken away. "We feel entitled to artificially inseminate a cow, and when she gives birth, we steal her baby, even though her cries of anguish are unmistakable," he told the 3,300 people in the room and the roughly 23 million watching at home. "And then we take her milk that's intended for her calf and we put it in our coffee and our cereal." The dairy industry issued a formal written response. An Oscars acceptance speech, had necessitated a formal written response from the dairy industry. Nothing about the plant-based era before or since was quite that peak. 7 months after Phoenix's speech in September 2020, Miley Cyrus appeared on episode 1531 of the Joe Rogan Experience and explained to the most widely listened to podcaster in America that she had started eating fish again. She'd been doing it for about a year at that point, since 2019, without mentioning it publicly. I was vegan for a very long time, she said, and I've had to introduce fish and omegas into my life because my brain wasn't functioning properly.
Okay. Miley, really? You can get omegas in other ways.
Flax seeds, baby. She said she felt so much more sharper. That's the quote. I did not read that incorrectly.
That does make it sound like her brain isn't working correctly.
It does. She mentioned that when her then husband, Liam Hemsworth, first cooked fish on the grill for her, she had cried. She called the experience traumatic, then said she had gotten through it. Rogan nodded. Singer Lizzo arrived at veganism in 2020, the same year Cyrus was quietly departing it, and eventually left it as well, drawn away by Japanese food, specifically fresh sushi and fluffy egg, which she described as revelatory. She said animal proteins helped with mental fog. She still considers the vegan diet the healthiest way to eat, she has said, and hopes to return to it someday. In the meantime, she eats fish. Daniel Humm, the Swiss-born chef behind 11 Madison Park, 3 Michelin stars, a tasting menu that costs several $100s, and for years a honey lavender glazed duck that guests arranged their travel schedules around, made in 2021 what was probably the most consequential announcement of the entire plant-based era. When the restaurant reopened after the pandemic, it would serve no animal products. Not the duck, not the lamb, not the caviar. Humm felt it was no longer possible to run a restaurant of 11 Madison's stature while serving meat, without an explanation that had become too difficult to construct. In 2022, the restaurant became the first in the world to earn 3 Michelin stars for a plant-based menu. In October 25, the duck came back. After listening to guests' feedback over 5 years, the restaurant wrote, it became clear that while we had built something meaningful, we had also unintentionally kept people out. This is the opposite of what we believe hospitality to be. The duck has been booked solid.
Tell me how you're keeping people out by serving food that does not contain animals.
I don't know. Also,
I would like to add that I've seen what the vegan offerings were at 11 Madison, and there was nothing satiating on the plate. It was like hundreds of dollars for really beautifully presented vegetables.
Yes.
No proteins of any kind.
Right.
No tofu.
No grains.
No grains. Well, there might have been grains. No tempeh.
Right.
No seitan. It was very beautifully constructed vegetables that were way overpriced.
Phenomenally expensive, yes.
Yeah. So I have a feeling it was just people weren't willing to spend that kind of money for the amount of food you were getting.
Could be. The industry numbers moved in the same direction. Beyond Meat's revenue in 2025 fell to $275.5 million, approaching the company's 2019 levels, as if everything between had been an expensive digression. And carrying more than $1.1 billion in debt, it was flagged by analysts as a Chapter 11 bankruptcy risk, surviving by restructuring its obligations through 2030 and counting on that being far enough away. Impossible Foods laid off more than 130 California workers in early 2025, following several earlier rounds of cuts. Sales of refrigerated meat alternatives fell about 21% in the year to June 2024. Hart House, Kevin Hart's vegan fast food chain, shut all 4 of its locations. Neat Burger, backed by Lewis Hamilton and Leonardo DiCaprio, closed its UK locations after shuttering New York and Dubai. In Chicago, 4 vegan and vegetarian restaurants closed within 8 days of each other in November. In Los Angeles, Floor Vegan in Silver Lake, which had opened in 2008 and occupied a particular position in the neighborhood's self-image, closed after 16 years. Moby sold his long-standing nearby A-lister vegan hotspot Little Pine, which later shuttered and later still was to be taken over by Eilish and her family as another vegan restaurant, but remains empty to this day. Running alongside all of this was a culture war that plant-based eating had, without quite intending to, walked into. Jordan Peterson, Joe Rogan, and the man who calls himself Liver King had spent several years performing carnivory as a philosophical stance, not just a diet, but an argument, with veganism as the emblem of everything they were arguing against. One analysis of social media content from 2022 to 2024 found that 1/10 of all posts about meat and plant-based food carried an explicit culture war dimension. And separately, the ultra-processed food backlash, the one that made consumers anxious about seed oils and oat milk cheese and anything that seemed to have been assembled in a laboratory, had begun absorbing the very products that had made veganism most accessible. Half of surveyed consumers said they were concerned that meat alternatives were too processed. The Impossible Burger, the Beyond Sausage, engineered to seem like something they were not, now seemed to many people like exactly that. Henry Mance, writing in the Financial Times, offered a verdict that has since been quoted at some length. Meat-free advocates were relying on mass conversion. That isn't happening. Eilish was not at the O2 Arena or UBS Arena or Co-op Live making an argument. She was arranging a situation. The vendors served her menu, the fans bought it, and what happened by the available evidence was that people ate it. The Elle interview, by contrast, was an argument. When the backlash arrived, and it arrived in the way that celebrity dietary statements now always arrive, with accusations of privilege stacked on top of food access arguments, stacked on top of old photographs of leather, she did not moderate or clarify. She posted the slaughterhouse footage. She wrote, "Go watch a documentary or two and some footage of what is done to the animals you claim to love and what it does to the planet you pretend to love as well. If that footage was hard for you to watch, I encourage you to please take a look at yourself." Even as the plant-based food industry was contracting, the number of vegans in the United Kingdom rose by 1 million in 2023. The global plant-based food market was valued at $46.77 billion in 2024 and is projected to more than double by 2034. What has been failing is not broad interest in eating more plants, but the particular industrial bet. The engineered burger, the processed sausage, the meat substitute as a premium object that animated the boom. People are still eating less meat, still cooking lentils and roasting vegetables and ordering plant-based options at restaurants they wouldn't have thought to ask about a decade ago. 61% of consumers now expect any restaurant, regardless of category, to have them. According to market research, 13.7% of Gen Zers actively follow vegetarian, vegan, or flexitarian diets, the highest rate in recorded history for any generation. The movement has not gone away, even if it has gone quiet. Eilish is trying to make it loud again, under conditions that are objectively not favorable. After the carnivore culture war, after the ultra-processed panic, after Miley on Rogan, after Lizzo and the sushi, after the duck came back to 11 Madison Park. She seems to find none of this discouraging, which is either admirable or irrational, and the line between those two things is not always clear. Like, I am so tired of standing up for or having empathy for living things being controversial, she wrote on Instagram. It is, at minimum, a very precise description of a feeling she has been having since she was 12. And now, at 24, with a concert documentary that just grossed $20 million in its first weekend, and, as her brother Phineas wrote in a note she reads aloud in the film, has everyone in the palm of her hand, she does not appear to have any plans to stop feeling that way anytime soon.
I really love that she's being so unapologetic about her stance. And I don't foresee Billie Eilish becoming one of those vegans, air quote vegan celebrities that we're going to hear is eating sushi next week or whatever.
Yeah.
We know we're not going to buy our way into a vegan world, obviously. But I think it's really important for people with a voice to, like I said, unapologetically state the case for veganism and for living compassionately.
Yep.
And the reason she got so much backlash was when she said you can't love animals.
That's right.
And eat them at the same time. You just, those two things cannot exist in the same world.
Yep.
And I really appreciate that. And I know she has a pretty young fan base. So, I always hope that something like that might spark some thought in people.
Yeah.
And the fact that if they're going to one of her shows, that all the food that they can get there is vegan and probably delicious. So, I just really appreciate what Billie's doing.
Yeah, I do too.
She's always been really vocal about where she stands in the world. And
and hey, she got this year's Veg News Award.
Yeah.
For favorite vegan celebrity.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she really is kind of the leader of the pack, as far as I'm concerned. She's doing some really great work out there.
Yeah. Now, we had another article or two about Billie, but
we're going to put those in a future episode.
Yeah.
Because there are some elements of one of them in particular that I think require additional scrutiny.
Yeah, it opens up a whole other ball game or can of
beans.
Peaches.
Okay. You went peaches, I went beans. All right, that's fine.
Yeah. The other article talks about how it's almost impossible to live ethically
in a consumerist society, under a capitalist society.
Yeah.
So
it's a whole other subject.
It's a whole other subject. So we're going to save that for another time.
Yeah, because it is an interesting subject.
Fascinating.
Yeah, so we will save that article for another episode.
Yeah. Maybe that could be like next week's Noteworthy or something.
It could be.
Yeah.
It could be. Yeah. But I love Billie Eilish.
I do too.
I always have. She's so herself.
You know what I mean? Yes. And again, it's that whole unapologetic thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I absolutely love it.
She is unapologetically Billie Eilish.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's a really good interview with her. Her and David Letterman interviewed her.
Oh, nice.
And he's like at her house interviewing her. And it was several years ago. She was very young, I think, when this interview took place, maybe like 19 or 20. And she's just so well-spoken and just love her.
Yep. She's great.
Love her.
Yes, and so this week's newsletter had my favorite Billie Eilish song in it. So, if you haven't checked that out, please do. Yeah,
check out the newsletter, and we'll tell you how to get that later.
We will.
It's now time for our favorite portion of the show.
Must be listener shout-out time.
It's listener shout-out.
Just want to give a shout-out to all my fans watching. I love you guys. I love you.
This week's shout out goes to Karen Thaka, who recently subscribed to our weekly newsletter. Thank you so much for subscribing and for listening to the show.
Yeah, please send us your t-shirt size and address so that we can send you a Compassion and Cucumbers swag bag. You can text us using the link in our show notes. You can drop us a voicemail using that link. You can email us at compassionandcucumbers@gmail.com or simply DM us on Instagram or Facebook.
And for the rest of you out there, if you would like a listener shout out of your very own, just contact us using the methods that Christine just mentioned. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you think of the show. We'd love to shout you out and send you some swag. You can also always nominate someone else for a shout out.
Yeah, do it.
And remember, you can also voicemail us.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And I do have a voicemail. We mentioned it last week.
We did.
And I did get permission to share that voicemail, which we will be sharing on next week's episode.
Awesome. I love that.
And if you guys have questions out there or anything you want to say to us, drop us a voicemail and we will play your voicemail on the show.
We will.
Yeah. I guess it's time to wrap this baby up. But before we go, be sure to subscribe to the show and leave a review on your favorite podcast app and subscribe to our YouTube. Also, like and follow us on Facebook and Instagram for updates about the show and pictures of vegan food and all kinds of other fun stuff. Where, Veg Fest season's coming, so there'll be a lot about that. And if you want to get news about upcoming episodes, you can do that by subscribing to our weekly newsletter at our website, which is compassionandcucumbers.com.
And with that, it's time to sign off. You have just listened to episode 226 of the Compassion and Cucumbers podcast, and there's nothing left to say but where cukes and compassion are always the fashion. On the podcast.
Thanks, James.
Have a great week, everyone.
We'll talk to you next Tuesday.
We love you.
We do. Take care of each other.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
The end.
And moved over 12,000 miles to Griffin.
1,200.
Sorry.
12,000? Other side of the world there, boo-boo.